Hey, everybody. It's Thursday evening. If you're watching live or whenever you choose to watch, it's your girl, Marcie Thomas, here for a special edition of Live Well Sister. I wanted to come to you guys because it's been a minute, probably back in January was the last time I did a solo episode, and just to have an opportunity to talk to you all and kind of share some of the things that are on my heart and spirit, and just to check in and make sure everybody's doing okay. Because the whole purpose is for us to live well, and we are on this live well journey together. As I said, I'm Marcie Thomas, the founder of Brown Girl Collective, the BGC Book Club, as well as Live Well Sister. And I know my setup looks a little bit differently because I wanted to sit actually at my desk and get comfortable in coming to you today. So welcome, welcome. Come on in the room. And if you like, drop a message to let us know where you're joining us from or anything like that. So tonight's special episode is about living well with intention. And you may be wondering why I'm coming to you to talk about that. It's actually on the heels of some conversations that I've had recently where I realized that some of the intentions that I have set for my life and for my opportunities to live well are actually beginning to manifest. And that's awesome because it lets me know that I'm on the right path and I'm on the right page. And so I just wanted to share some of my process with all of you. So just briefly, Live Well Sister is here to talk about 7 different areas in which we can live well and do great in our lives, starting with our spiritual life, making sure that we have a good spiritual connection, whatever that connection is. I'm not here to tell you what it should be, but as long as you have a good spiritual connection, that you also are connected to your body and your health, whether it's your mental, your physical, emotional health. All of those things are important for us to be as healthy as we possibly can be in these bodies, of which we only get one. The third area is for us to have healthy relationships, whether it's relationships with a spouse or, children, people at work, friends. All of those different types of relationships are important. And what are we doing to make sure that we have these great relationships? After that comes our career. And I know a lot of times people put career further up the ladder, but really to me, that's like number 4, because your career is what it is. You do what you have to do to support yourself, to support your family. So that comes later on down the line. But are we really, really walking in our purpose? Are we really doing well in our careers? Are we setting intentions for those things? Are we just letting things kind of be happenstance? After that is money. We all got to have money to survive. It's a method. There goes an earring. It's the way that we operate in this world. We need finances to do so. So what intentions are you setting for finances? And the last 2, of course, are giving back to community and serving others. And lastly, are you having fun? Because part of living well is being able to have fun. So that's pretty much the framework for this show. It's the framework for how I view my life. And you all can please feel free to join in or chime in at any time, because it's different for me to not be interviewing someone and it's just me. So I don't want to feel like I'm just talking to myself. So please chime in. So recently, one of the ways in which I could see that the intentions that I set for my life were manifesting was, of course, you all know I do this Brown Girl Collective thing, but I do have a day job. And one of the things I'd love to be able to come and talk to you and create media and all those things on a regular basis, and not have to work a day job, but because I do, it's important for me to make sure that that job is supporting me and doing the things that I need it to do, both financially as well as giving me the time to do things like this. So long story short, I moved with the job not too long ago. I was relocated when other people didn't get that opportunity. Relocated to the Atlanta area, which is a place that I wanted to move on my own, mind you, but my job moved me. And then recently was given a promotion at that job. So that was one of the ways which I was able to see things beginning to manifest for me. Another is in just some volunteer work that I do and helping a young girl, and been doing some things and sharing books with her and things like that. And since I started doing that, now I can see where her mind is expanded about the wonderful and beautiful things that Black women do. So I intentionally set out when talking to her to make sure that I shared books, and I'll share some of those resources that I shared with her later, but that was an intention that I set. So I just thought, wow, I can see things manifesting in my life and how that can be beneficial to you all if you look and you have an idea or a thought, or you're trying to figure out which way do I go. Like I kind of said in the notes, like, do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you really know? I know that's a song from Diana Ross, thing from Mahogany, but it's true. It rings true. Do we really know? Or are we just flying by the seat of our pants? Are we just taking whatever comes our way? Are we just jumping into relationships or jobs or different things without any real thought or really real intention for how we want those things to move us forward and propel us forward? And I was telling my best friend the other day, I'm like, you know what? Every time I set an intention, every time I do a thing with purpose, I would say not every time, but probably 8.5 to 9 times out of 10, things go exactly the way I want. So I just wanted to share some of my process with you. So basically, in looking at the 7 different areas that I talked about, I generally tend to set an intention, and usually I do it on a quarterly basis. And so I can review it and see, okay, I'm doing good here, I'm not doing good there. This is just something that I do, and I will encourage you to do, on your own time. Maybe jot some of these things down or go back and look at this later and really think about that. Starting with, of course, as I'm looking at my notes over here. So starting with, of course, your spiritual connection. Like, are you connected spiritually? And this isn't just about going to church. This is about also, do you, spend time in prayer? Do you spend time in meditation? Do you sometimes just sit and get quiet and, allow God, or your higher power to speak to you and provide you with direction or comfort or ideas? Do you do that? Do you have that connection? It's important to do so. As I said, whatever that connection is, I can't tell you what that needs to be for you because that's a personal choice. But whatever it is, are you doing that? Do you set an intention for your spiritual life? Whether it is to, spend more time in meditation or more time in prayer, or maybe if you don't have a place of worship, to seek a place of worship so you can have that connection and learn from others who are on a similar path. Have you set that intention for your life? Or do you go and you just go because it's, it's tradition, people in your family have always done this, so I'm just going to go because I've always gone and it's just a part of what I do, and there's really no rhyme or reason to what you're doing or what you're seeking in that space. That can also help you decide where you're going to go. Because, for instance, for myself personally, I like the music. I like to be able to serve. I like to hear a good message. I like to meet the people. That's my intention whenever I join a place of worship, of course, to get closer to God and all of those things. But I'm not necessarily looking for someone to tell me how to live, per se, but just to give me encouragement and it's inspiration and things like that. And then I can take, the different tools that I use spiritually to help. And that's just a part of one of the tools in my tool chest, so to speak. So that's just an example. So one of my goals is, or intentions is to have a deeper connection to my higher power. For me, the goals underneath that are, the prayer, the meditation, and journaling, actually, because that's a good way to sit and just let whatever thoughts and things that may be coming to you or spiritual ideas come to you, that you can actually put them on paper and go back and refer to them later. So that's one of the ways in which I connect spiritually or continue to live well from a spiritual perspective. So that's one. The second is this body, the body beautiful. The body beautiful is very important that we set intentions for the way that we treat our bodies. So personally, I have a goal to get as healthy as I possibly can. And for me, that means I need to watch what I'm eating. I need to make sure that I'm moving more. I need to make sure I sleep, because sometimes if you're not sleeping right, that messes up, that throws a lot of other things out of whack if you're not getting adequate rest. So, and some of you may have seen this announcement about Girl Trek. I am connected with Girl Trek, which is an organization, the largest health nonprofit for Black women, getting us out here walking and moving. They suggested we do this 5 times a week for 30 minutes a pop. So if we're doing that, if I do that, and now I'm working with them, I've committed myself to it. So it's one of those things. That's one of my ways of being able to make sure that I'm taking care of my body, and also encouraging others to do that as well. So that is one of the ways that that's one of my health intentions, and how I am manifesting that is by walking. Also by, eating more greens, and things like that, making sure I take my supplements. If you watched last week, you saw Dr. Carlina on here talking about Black Health vitamins, which is all about making sure we're getting the right nutrients and things like that, because I want to be healthy. So that's one of my goals. So have you all set any intentions for your health? And if so, what steps are you taking to make sure that you're the healthiest that you can be? Because even though it's not money, health is wealth. And the healthier we are, some of these other things that we say we want to do, we can't do them if we don't have our health. We need that connection. And then we need to make sure that we have the right connections within our bodies, and that we're healthy and we're able to move and get out and do things. And, things that we can. Of course, we know there are always things that we can't control, but the things that we can control, is there a plan for that? Have you set intentions along that line that will help you to get there? So that's just an example for health. After that is relationships. Now, relationships can be a challenge, whether they are, it's a romantic relationship or a relationship within your family, friends, people at work, all of that stuff. But personally, I have set an intention, since I am in a new city, that I want to meet new people, that I want to explore and expand my horizons. I'm looking to build my tribe. That's what I'm looking to do. So I have to be intentional about that process. For me personally, that means since I moved here, I've been getting out, and as I said, I'm in the Atlanta area. I have been going and volunteering at an art museum. As you can see, this art behind me, actually, that's my art. So I love art. I love to create art. I love to go out and look at art. So I've been volunteering at an art museum, for example. Gives me a chance to do something that I love and meet new people. I already mentioned doing things at the church. That gives me an opportunity to meet new people with like interests, and not just by happenstance. Because sometimes we fall into relationships by happenstance, just because it's somebody you met at work or the club or the grocery store or wherever. It doesn't necessarily mean you have things in common. But when you can be intentional about it and go to the places where the people who like what you like, at least as a jumping off point, I personally feel that's a good way to meet people that can ultimately become a part of your tribe. So those are two of the things that I do. Right now, I'm gonna put that up. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that, because it is important. Michelle Thompson is saying, make sure it shows up here. It takes a minute sometimes. I want everybody to see your comment. I'll be moving to a new city soon, and I'm really looking forward to intentional community engagement based upon my interests. Yeah, that is so true, because for a lot of us, we go to work, we go home. And yes, I do have friends at work that I've met through work, but it just happened to be that way. I don't go to work to make friends. It's just something that happened. But when you can really be intentional, and I'm talking about friends, and same thing goes for dating, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any gentlemen watching, same thing goes for dating, because I'm single right now. I am choosing not to be intentional about dating. But when that time comes, I will be, however I do it. I've actually thought about getting a matchmaker, because I'm thinking, that may work. I know a lot of people do dating apps or whatever as a way to intentionally date. But, I'll figure that out when I decide to do that. I'm just focusing on a few other things right now. But I just think it is important, to set your intentions. Because as I mentioned in the post, I said, you'll ask somebody else, what are your intentions? You'll ask a guy that or somebody in your life, what are your intentions? Or if you have a child, you might ask the person they're dating, what are your intentions towards my son? Or what are your intentions towards my daughter? But it's important that we check our own intentions of how we're relating to others, how we're getting out there and deciding to meet others. And then when you do meet someone, what are your intentions towards them? That's important, because we always want to make sure everyone wants to feel like they're doing the right things, ultimately doing the right things for the right reasons with the right people. So setting intentions is a good part of that. So next, besides that, beyond that is the career and living out your life purpose. Are you intentional about that? I'm going to be honest. I have enough. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, we do have to check our intentions towards others because they might not always be good, even though we think they are. Sometimes they can be selfish. But as far as career is concerned, I'll admit I have not always been intentional about setting goals for my career. I know some people, they grow, they start in elementary school, junior high, high school, and they know I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be a musician, whatever the case may be. Some people know and they get on a path and they follow that path all the way through. They're very intentional about that. They make choices that are going to put them in that space. And even though I went to school for business, I can admit I wasn't intentional always about the jobs that I took. Sometimes it was just, I need work, so I'm going to go to work. And this is who's hiring. So this is where I'm going because this is who's hiring at this time. I actually joined the Air Force years ago not because I wanted to join the Air Force, but because I saw it as an avenue to get my education and also be able to get out in the world and travel, which I always love to travel. I still do love to travel. So being in the Air Force gave me the opportunity to do that. But I didn't intentionally set out to go to the Air Force, but I did intentionally decide to go active duty versus join guards or reserves because I knew I could travel. So not only did I travel while I was in the Air Force, once I got in there and I set an intention, I'm going to travel. So I was stationed in Spain, but I went all throughout Europe while I was there intentionally. I also was able to walk away from the Air Force with 2 degrees. So I fulfilled that intention of getting my education while I was there. Other things happened as well, getting some recognition, some other things that happened, getting several promotions. But originally the intent was to travel and to go to school. So it's just amazing the way that when you set good intentions and you're going into things for the right reasons, how doors of opportunity can begin to open for you, even in your career. Like I mentioned first up that, I recently got a promotion that I deserved it. So I deserved to get it. But because I have other desires, I kind of put it on the back burner, thinking, I'll just go find another job. But then I was like, wait a minute, I earned this. I'm gonna talk to the right people to make sure that I get it. Because for me, that particular space allows me to do what I'm doing right now. I can come here and talk to you on a consistent basis at 8:00 on Thursday nights. Monday, I had to switch up my schedule and interview someone at lunchtime. I could do that because I have flexibility in the job that I have, wherein if I went someplace else, I might not be able to do that. So because my intention is to serve you all in any and every way that I can, I need to be in a space that allows me to do that. So that's just important. So, for anyone who's out there, just think about that. Sometimes you do got to do what you got to do, and I get that. I've been there, done that more than once. But other times you may need to really sit and think about, if I have a specific goal, if there's a specific end that I have in mind, is what I'm doing right now going to take me there? Is it going to get me there? Or is it just something that's cool to do for right now, but it's not getting me where I want to go? I have an example of somebody else, actually. Everything doesn't have to be about me. But there's a gentleman that I know of who I don't believe he owns them anymore, but this is in Detroit. He owns several McDonald's at a point in time. A young brother owned a whole bunch of McDonald's restaurants, right? He knew at an early age that he wanted to be in the restaurant business, right? So what he did, he set his intention that he would go out and get what he called paid internships, right? So what he would do is go and say maybe work at this place for 6 months, learn everything that he could over here. Then he'd go work someplace else for another, 5 or 6 months, learn everything he could over there, different restaurants, because he wanted to understand all of the business, right? He wasn't going to college to learn. He wanted to learn, by, boots on the ground and really get in and learn. So after several trials of doing this, he wound up getting a job where he was working at a high-end restaurant there in the Chicago area. And he had these guests that would come in and he would serve them all the time. And, they just really loved him when when they came in, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so great, and all of these things. And one day he wound up serving a group of people, and the woman was actually the head of recruitment for McDonald's, and they were looking to hire minority managers, minority owners. And because she saw his work that he was doing with intention, he was able to get hired on with McDonald's and ultimately own several different McDonald's restaurants. So that's just an example of someone who did have an intention for his career, and he knew what path he needed to take, and he wasn't afraid to take risks. He wasn't afraid to say, hey, I'm gonna go here for 6 months or 3 months or 5 months or whatever it is, learn what he could learn, and then wind up in a position with his gifts and his talents making room for him, basically, as the Bible says. He was able to have this great opportunity. So being intentional can really set you up for opportunities, and then you have the opportunity to say yes or no, depending on what your end game is. So that is, and I'm just going to say a caveat here real quick, because this next area is one that sometimes I struggle. I'm not good in all of these areas. Trust. That's why, I go back and I review regularly to see where I am. That's why these guests that are coming on to Live Well Sister on and on, regularly have guests that are talking about these different things. It's because I'm not there. And my mother always says, oh, you're doing that for you. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, sort of. But I'm doing it for you as well, because the better I am, the better we can all be, the better the world ultimately is. So the area of finances, how intentional are we about our finances? Sometimes we don't get there until we don't have a choice. In other words, you may be that person who spend, and then you have something happen and you realize you shouldn't be spending so much money. You're like, oops, I better start saving. Oops, I better start, figuring out a way to make more, because maybe what I'm making isn't enough. Maybe I need to start investing. One thing, for me personally, because I have been a person who has not always been intentional about jobs, I don't have a huge retirement fund, and I'm in my mid 50s. So it's like, okay, now I have to set an intention that I do need to make as much as I can. I do need to, diversify my portfolio. I do need to look at multiple streams. I have to be intentional about that if I want to, 10 years, 20 years from now, whatever the case may be, if I want to make sure I'm living the life that I really want, there's some different things that I have to do. So, but I understand that now, so I can set that intention. I hope that more people can start, if it's possible, younger, to do that, so they can build and build and build and build, from there. But that's an intentional act. You have to be able to say, okay, let me look at different ways to make income. Let me look at, what I can do away with that I can save. Let me not get 50 credit cards that now I got to pay. Now I can only afford to pay. I don't have 50 credit cards, just to be clear. But, let me not do that, so that all of my money is going towards making minimum payments, things like that. And then it gives you the opportunity to not only build for your own future, but also the future of your children, and your children's children. Once again, going to the Bible, just being intentional about your finances and the way that you work with the money that is entrusted to you and the funds that are entrusted to you. So that's another area. For me personally, right now, my intention is to pay off some bills so that I can have more money to work with in, taking care of business, and also to invest not just in, say, the stock market or things like that, but to invest in myself, because that's one thing that our money can do for us. If we have a little bit extra, we can use it to invest in ourselves. Whether that investment be, going and taking a class to get more education, to make more money in your job, or going and taking a class just because there's something that you think you want to do or you want to try, and I can afford to do this, or investing in a vacation, or for me, I want to invest in regular self-care, whether that be getting my massages or facials, or when you see the nails are done, getting the nails done rather, or traveling. Those are ways that I can invest in myself and my own development and invest in my joy. So the better I'm able to do financially, or the better we're all able to do financially, we can invest in our joy and we can help others, which is actually the next thing: service. Being able to provide service, not just, by, as I mentioned, I go to church, I serve at church in a couple of different capacities. I do community service with, I mentioned the reading and, the library, the museum. I love community service. And it's great to be able to provide, with time. But the thing of it is, sometimes we don't have time. So they're just figuring out other ways that we can be of service to others, because it's not always about us and what we want, what we need, what we're trying to get. It is about being able to help someone else and helping people even outside of the own four walls of your household. That's just something that I feel is really important. Service of time. And then back to the money for a second. My father used to always tell me, he's like, you need to make more money because I know you like to give. And the more money you're making, the more you can do to help other people. So, it's just important to be able to do that and to leave a legacy behind. Like, you see all these books behind me. Normally, y'all can only see one side, but today you can see them all. Like, part of my legacy is to figure out a way to set up a library to, or donate these books to some type of library. That'll be my service, because it's full of books by, for, and about Black women. And that's part of what I want to do, to give, because I think it's important for us to read, and to read things that represent who we are. So that's part of service. Also, kind of tying back to finances, I strongly believe in supporting Black businesses. So that's a financial decision. It's also a decision that allows me to pour back into my community. Because if you think about it, when we're buying Black as much as we can, then that's helping a Black family who, may be supporting a Black, organization, or whatever the case may be, that is helping just keep that money churning and moving within our own community. So it's something, once again, an intention. One of my coworkers and I were talking about this yesterday. She's like, "You're always telling me about this one, that one, and the other one." Oh, I'm like, because I intentionally seek Black businesses, Black service providers, because that's just something that's important to me that I do intentionally. Live Well Sister, Brown Girl Collective, all these things, they are an extension of who I am as a person. It's not just something to do to come on here and let y'all look at me, see how cute I am that day or whatever. It's not about that for me. For me, it is a part of service. So I mean it, and I'm committed to it in any way possible that I can do that. Last but not least, on this list of setting intentions, I set an intention to have a good time, to have fun, to enjoy my life. And, that looks different for different people. For me, as I mentioned, I love to travel. I like taking in cultural events, whether it be concerts or, plays, things like that. I love to travel. I've already mentioned that a couple of times. For me, that's about joy. And just being able to sit somewhere with somebody and have a good belly laugh and drink a glass of wine. I set intentions for myself that allow me to make space for fun in my life through And I don't know if you all have been noticing or paying attention. A lot of these things that I'm talking about, those 7 different areas, there's a lot of overlap. I can have fun at work. I have fun when I'm talking to you guys. I have fun when I'm at church. I have fun when I'm working out with my girl Trek sisters. So it's not always fun paying those bills, but you know what I mean? I find ways to incorporate fun and a joy of life, a joy of living into everything that I'm doing, because joy is important for us as people, as I would say specifically as Black people, because there's always, and even more specifically as Black women, because there's always something or someone coming to try to steal our joy or tell us that we shouldn't experience joy or whatever the case may be, making us feel like we don't deserve to be happy or we haven't earned the right to be happy, whatever that means. So that's something that's just important to me. It's something that I'm always seeking. It's something that I would hope that all of you would do as well. So that's my spiel. My spiel is pretty much finished as far as that's concerned. But I hope that you all will take some time to think about all of those different things and kind of figure out what your intentions are going to be for how you're going to live well as you move forward. I wrote like a little thing, a little note here of exactly putting all those things together. For me, I want to be spiritually grounded and healthy with a tribe of loving friends and family surrounding me. I want to continue to do good works that celebrate my lovely people and enjoy both personal and financial freedom and have lots of fun along the way. So that's my life intention. And as I said, every 3 months, I go back and I revisit, like, okay, I'm doing good with this. And maybe you need to tweak that. Because the reality of it is you can have all of these things, but maybe not all on the same level at the same time. But if you set the intention to go back periodically and look at your goals or look at what your intentions are and shift as you need to shift, make moves where you need to make moves, say, okay, I'm good with this, like I'm like right here. I'm drinking enough water now. I got the water under control. So maybe now I got that. So maybe now I should start getting, 30 extra minutes of sleep or whatever. You're good with one, then you can start to focus on another and just keep the momentum going as we live our best lives. That's the goal for all of y'all. So this is a short one because it's fun to talk to you all, but not always as interesting for you to watch me for a whole hour. So if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to share, please do so. I have been scrolling the places where you can follow Brown Girl Collective at the bottom. Also, if you have any personal questions or comments, or if you would like to come on and be a specialist or talk about how you're living well or how you're experiencing joy or any of these things, there's the information where you can contact me, and we'll see about getting you on and into this space. So, all right, thanks, Michelle. I'm going to put your comment up. That email is editor@browngirlcollective.com. Just shoot me a note and we'll see what we can do. Michelle, your comment is, I appreciate you sharing those intentions with us tonight. The conversation was perfectly aligned with the energy I plan to bring to my next season of life. Until next time. Thank you, sis. I appreciate that. Because it's one of those things when you do a thing, you're like, okay, you never know how it's going to land. So I appreciate that lovely comment, and I appreciate everyone for staying here with me. And if you think this is something that will resonate with someone else, please feel free to share out the video. You can drop a comment later on if you like. You can contact me if you want to say something personal to me and just let me know how you're feeling, or things like that. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you all. Now go ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening and continue to live well. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.